Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's going on, beautiful people? It is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025, of course. It's New Year's Eve, y'all. In just a few hours, it will be the spring equinox, the cosmic new year, and the first day of Aries season, which is crazy. I feel like it was literally just January 1st, for real, you know? So time is certainly moving, but in a great way. I feel like this is the season to look forward to for so many reasons, especially if you're anything like me and you live in a climate that, well, you live in an area where you definitely get a strong winter. And although it wasn't brutal, it was definitely strong. We definitely had some cold days and we had some snow, some good snow coverings. And it feels a little springy today. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping, if you can hear it. I have my window open right now. It's just a beautiful day. It's not too hot, but it is a beautiful day. So I'm looking forward to it. So this is the last, kind of like New Year's Eve when you kind of sew up your last minute things before you start fresh in the new year. Many of us have already been doing that, for sure, over the winter in general, and certainly throughout the past few transits, particularly the full moons. So it's just kind of like the threshold of a fresh season that feels good, it smells good, it looks good. Something about it is quite positive to me, and I hope the same for you. All right, well, anyway, let me cut it one more time, and then let's get to it. Wow, the Emperor. The Emperor. The Emperor. What's this trying to peek out? The Knight of Wands. That could be one of the Emperor's guards. I don't know. What's behind that? Wow, the Temperance card. Ooh, what is this about? The downside is, as soon as I open my window, I sneeze. I'm like, oh, come on. So I hope I don't start getting sniffly on you. Forgive me if so. But anyway, all right. So we got this Knight of Wands, the Empress, the Empress, the Temperance, and the Emperor. Maybe balancing. There's some sense of maturity here, maybe. This could be, okay, all right. This could be, because I value the direction of cards more or less. Like it may or may not matter to some, but to me, I at least take note of it. So the Knight of Wands is moving in this direction, right? The Temperance is the centerpiece, and the Emperor is more in the forwarding position. So it could be like I kind of started this message saying, like kind of tying up loose ends, releasing some last ditch energy, leaving some things behind, really kind of preparing yourself for a new experience, a new season, a new year, if you see it that way, a new opportunity, a new identity. And this, oh yeah, because the Emperor is Aries energy as well. So that makes a lot of sense, kind of leaving this sense of of I hate to say immaturity, but on the scale between, literally the scale between the Temperance and the Emperor, that's what it feels like. You know, like the Knight of Wands is like the younger version, or the lesser man, you know, so to speak, or the less evolved energy compared to the Emperor, which is more so expected or identified to be strong, sensible, secure, stable, focused, self-controlled, very opposite of the Knight of Wands in a lot of ways, which sometimes we see as more of a fly-by-night type of energy, or overly ambitious at times, sometimes in a lower frequency, even lustful, or what's the word? Lustful feels kind of harsh. There's one word I want that's kind of like reckless. Yeah, like kind of reckless. Not always, but again, there's something about the scaling here that makes me feel like there's something to be said about that. You know, the Knight of Wands may be coming of age, or having sown his wild oats, now ready to settle into his responsibilities, you know, or his maturity, a phase of maturity, is his regal era, masculine or feminine, of course, but it's definitely heavy masculine energy here right now. So the Temperance is implying that sense of spiritual healing that must have taken place, you know, to come to a place of maturity, maybe even to an ascended perspective of life, you know, kind of putting down the raggedy wand in exchange for the scepter, whatever that is. You know, it's almost kind of like an ankh in a sense in the Emperor's hand. So get into that ideal, you know, like the difference between the wand and the scepter, like trickery, games, and then this is like direct power, intention, influence. So I don't know, like maybe there's just going to be some accelerated upgrades, or seemingly so, because the Temperance, I mean, it's Sagittarius energy, but I feel like the Temperance it doesn't come. It's not a microwave experience. That's something that's learned through trial and error most of the time, usually more error than anything, where you learn from your past experiences, even sometimes your so-called mistakes or missteps. You learn what it is that you truly, first of all, what you're capable. You become more self-aware of what you're capable of creating, left to your own devices, you know. And when you are observant of the results of that creativity, you're faced with the invitation or the choice to modify, you know, your intentions or your choices as you move forward. And that's the stuff, you know, that intention, that grooming, that conditioning, and most times reconditioning, sometimes of bad habits or trauma, fight or flight or survival instincts that become more refined to transmit and transform one from, you know, just the wild warrior to a solid ruler, you know, like get into it. I don't know. So yeah, there's definitely some transition happening here. I feel like there's something deeper, I should say. Let me see. It's like that scripture, you know, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. Something about like I did childish things, pretty much is the beginning of the scripture. But when I matured, pretty much, so to speak, I put away those childish things. I'm butchering that to high hell, literally. But it just speaks to, you know, becoming aware of the I wouldn't say necessity, I would say the what's that word I just heard? The damn it, what was that word that I just heard? Like the benefits, there it is. Becoming aware of the benefits of maturing. You know, like, you know how it is when you're younger and you think about the idea of so-called getting old, it doesn't always seem so promising. You know, a lot of still, you know, in some ways we all find ways to resist that transition. But it's something here that I'm picking up about, like really embracing it and actually like reveling in it, in a sense, like this new identity of power and position, like not no longer kind of run. See how he's going in the opposite direction, no longer running away from the responsibilities that may be attached to this new sense of maturity, the accountability, perhaps even to maintain a certain standard of uh, of I hate to keep saying maturity, like a certain standard of affluence, maybe, and even influence. You know, like the emperor is in a position of great influence, and sometimes, you know, to be in a position such as that, it can feel like, especially from the perspective of the Knight of Wands, like a lot of pressure to take care of others or be a positive role model or figure, to lead and guide even your own life in a way that is productive and prosperous. Like but it really comes down to a matter, as all things do, perspective. And what I'm sensing most, especially with the temperance, which is good energy, is very balanced and harmonious, is that where someone may have before resisted this seat, you know, like this charge, you know, appointment, even anointing, with the temperance in the middle, it feels deeper and grander, you know, than just, oh, I grew up. It's like there's a certain divine design connected to that maturity and an influence that comes with it that is just as much of a gift as it can be, as it can be I guess a responsibility is the word, is the word. Certainly not a curse. I was never going to say a curse, but there's a charge connected to it that can't be ignored, which is probably why the Knight of Wands may have shied away from it, maybe even ran away from it in previous seasons. But now there's an acceptance, maybe even a celebration, you know, a sense of pride that one may now take in this promotion of sorts, or just the evolution of themselves that is not just, you know, a twist of an arm, like you have to do it. It's like a pleasure in it. Yes, that's what I'm getting. Like it's someone's, maybe many people are finding the pleasure in fulfilling their purpose, you know, in a very direct and determined way. I hope I articulated that properly, because I feel something on it. I feel something deep on it. But we'll keep going. Let's see what we got. I think I'm just go straight across, maybe a couple rows. Oh, shoot. Eight of, where is it? The Eight of Cups. Yeah, there's definitely a transition happening, a moving on. Let's see what else. And it could even be, as I was saying, like from that Knight of Wands energy, where the things that may have excited you before, maybe even aroused you, perhaps inspired, you know, in a milder sense, just don't have the same savor as they once did. People, places, things, ideas, impulses, you know, habits, could be a number of things that were good for a season, maybe even for a lifetime up until now. And now it's just like, yeah, I'm good on that. Or I can do without it, or I'm looking forward to more, you know, especially given that Knight of Wands to Emperor energy, where, man, I could go in on that so deep. Like I keep feeling these flashes of something deeper, considering the lack of self-control and you know, like lustfulness that the Knight of Wands can exhibit at times, just sometimes just with lack of maturity. And then, like I said, in other ways, it could be as a result of trauma or negative influences, whatever it is. Sometimes it can feel good, certainly arousing, as I said, like a seductive type of energy, to be footloose and fancy free, to not really be beholden to anything or anyone but your own self satisfaction, and maybe even instant gratification and pleasure seeking even. You know, all of that stuff can be very exciting and very fun, and has its place, you know, as the Knight of Wands is an explorer, to, as I said, kind of like discover yourself, you know, and discover your limitations or even lack thereof, which ultimately build character if you allow it to. But sometimes we can get stuck there too long for the sensationalism of it all. And that's the Eight of Cups, where there's been a lot of time and energy invested in things, you know, maybe even the best of your years or the best of your energy, doing things, settling for circumstances, catering to people, believing in ideas, building on faulty foundations, perhaps. And the Eight of Cups is the one that has that faithful fortitude to say, you know what, this was fun while it lasted, or maybe not, you know, whatever the case may be, but there's got to be something more holistically fulfilling ahead of me. And it takes a great deal of courage to charter that path. It really does, because it's leaving comfort and complacency for something that is really not guaranteed, and sometimes quite mysterious. Because even if you have an idea of even what you want to cultivate or create for yourself in the future, you don't absolutely know for sure upon that first step toward it that it's attainable, you know. So to walk in that direction anyway says a lot about the Knight of Wands character in the first place to walk away from guaranteed pleasure, perhaps, or stimulation, let's say, into a place where you know that there more than likely may be more required of you to either attain that ideal or to maintain whatever ideal is achieved. It's like the difference between a man, let's just say, because it's very masculine, playing the field, like I said, like just being a playboy, sowing their royal oats, or just being single, you know, and just doing their thing, not being attached or committed to anything in particular, to coming to a center point in their life where they actually want to be in relationship, you know, and something that is nurturing and fulfilling, and recognizing the void that they may be experiencing, having one, you know, holding on to one ideal, maybe even one identity over one that, you know, as we say, with as is implied with the Emperor, that again would require more of you, maybe more dedication, more seriousness, perhaps, you know, but certainly a deeper level of commitment or a higher level of commitment. And that could be relational, but it could also even be, you know, just becoming more serious about what you create in your life, building a future, and fortifying your foundation for the long run. You know, maybe some people haven't been so fixated on the next 5 years, you know, as there feels like like a nudge to be so now. You know, Aries season is definitely that spirit of ambition and initiation, like that is empowering to do such things. You know, like it gives you that spark of determination, you know, tenacity. You can almost be too ambitious with Aries energy at times, but in a good way, in this sense, because it doesn't allow you to relent to resistance or resistance or denial, not denial, like what's the word I'm looking for? Resistance and rejection. There it is. Rejection. It doesn't even allow, with Aries energy so strong as the Emperor, it won't even allow you to really conceptualize rejection or denial or resistance. It's like, what? If I see it, I want it. I got it. You know what I mean? And maybe that is the fuel that would have some turnaround, to just know that if I already feel like if I'm already sensing this ideal of fulfillment, then it's just as good as mine, you know. And that's definitely a powerful influence to have, you know, because that's a determination that will definitely suspend doubts and opposition in a way that won't hinder your path. Now, it may take turns that you didn't necessarily that you even with the Seven of Pentacles, it may take turns, you know, or detours and such that you didn't necessarily plan for, because like I said, Aries energy just sees point A to Z for the most part. Like there is no resistance in between as far as their ambition is concerned. So the other side of that sometimes is having to allow yourself to be amenable or bendable to the path that sometimes can be winding, which is, you know, another side of the game. But ultimately, it's about allowing yourself to like to kind of like really tap in to that assertiveness, which if we consider the disparity between the Knight of Wands to the Emperor, that's a great stretch, like almost an accelerated. That's like going from being the, I don't know, like the intern, let's say, to the CEO. And seemingly overnight, although, like I said, temperance energy is not an overnight delight at all. There's been some time, some conditioning that's happened, but sometimes we don't even realize how our experiences have conditioned us for where we're headed, So there's definitely a hint to being qualified for the position that we're being offered, or the position that we're ambitious for. However, there still maybe perhaps is a training, let's say, as I'm speaking about being bendable and flexible, there still is like a training, or like getting comfortable in that new seat of power and authority that is necessary. Like here at the Seven of Pentacles, he's kind of taking inventory over his stock, and again, it's always about perspective for me, especially with the Seven of Pentacles, because you can see that as having not harvested much, or you can see the future, the long run, and see, like maybe you go into a certain situation feeling like, your ambition will ultimately gain you a windfall, or an overflow in a certain way. Lo and behold, it's setting you up for a future, like almost like a retirement fund in a sense, or just like having long-term security in a way that maybe is not so immediately gratifying. And I don't even know what we're talking about here. I'm likening it to business and material gain in a sense, but like I said, I feel like there's something much deeper than that. But with the Seven of Pentacles, like I said, it's about really seeing the potential for the future and like the gain of the future. And in order to really truly do that purely, it does come with appreciation for where you are in the present moment. So like you could inhabit a new role or a new position, or come into a new expression of your identity. And at first, the yield may not be as exciting as you may have anticipated, or maybe not even knowing what to anticipate. It's something here about allowing yourself to maybe grow into the function of this identity, or the function of this influence, the responsibilities of this new power, perhaps, and seeing, as I was saying in the beginning, like seeing the pleasure in that transformation, or that more so transition, because the implication is that the position is already filled by you. You're in the position even now as we speak for most, but it's something about allowing yourself to kind of grow into it, to really stretch into the full capacity of it in the way that really does stabilize your confidence in the way that the Emperor projects. You know what I mean? At first, maybe it won't feel that way at the Seven of Pentacles. It may even feel like am I sure that am I at the right place at the right time? But here is the stability if you look at it that way, where it balances out ultimately. and it becomes something that you can rely on, that you can build on, that you can trust, and that is trustworthy, that others can find a dependency in a good sense, like find dependable, like kind of like getting, finding your rhythm is what I'm sensing, where everything is kind of working like clockwork. Could even be the investments that have been made stabilizing in a way that grants more security, where it's not so like questionable or topsy-turvy or so uncertain. We could literally be talking about confidence here, especially coming off of the Knight of Wands to the Emperor and the Temperance in the middle, like really balancing and stabilizing your sense of security and the projection of confidence in not just a healthy way from the inside out, but in a way, again, that is inspiring and influential, like the emperor, good emperors anyway, like ones that truly do have the best interest of whatever they govern at heart, usually rule by inspiration, not so, definitely not through fear, which most of the times is stemmed from insecurity. So there's something about really allowing yourself to be stabilized and like almost allowing yourself to see the evidence of your qualifications, like of why it is that you are exactly the man or woman, of course, for the position that you're in. It might not be so clear right now in the transition, like almost in the probationary period, so to speak. All right, let's see what we got here. This is interesting. Ooh, but look at that. Look at that. That's the long-term success right there. Like, look at that. That is amazing how that just came out. If you know, I don't even have to go through much, but based on what I just said, going from being unsure, like, am I making the right investments? Am I the right investment or the right asset, even, so to speak, to coming to a stabilized point of, yes, this everything is working for me, not against me. I'm operating in the fullest capacity of my gifts, even. That could be it, like in the pocket of your gifts, your talents. Like maybe even the Seven of Pentacles is being stretched thin and like doing too much, or just kind of pushing yourself in a way where you're still exploring or figuring out what works. And the Four of Pentacles is like stabilizing that. Like, I know what works for me. I know my style of management or my style of creativity, my brand of whatever, of expression, whatever it is. And then it working for you so well, in fact, that here it is, the Ten of Pentacles, it begins to materialize and like an abundant harvest for generations. Yeah. Trust funds, businesses to carry on beyond you, to leave, to legacies to leave behind, a new influence on like a regenerated influence on whatever it is that you produce or reproduce, like in a human sense, meaning your own family and your children and their children's children, like having a fresh idea about the true meaning of prosperity, and how in this case, simple, or at least more simplified it can be to truly manifest that, because you've done all the hard work, like you have done the labor that would make it more, it's like the matriarch of the family living the lives and making the mistakes and, and getting the experience and busting his balls more or less to fortify a foundation so that your children don't have to work so hard. It doesn't mean that they can't still gain a sense of value for hard work and dedication and all of that good stuff. They can in their own right, but hopefully with less of, here it is, the resistance, the rejection, the obstinance, opposition. I don't know if obstinance is a word. I think so. That you had to incur. It's like shaving literally is like the learning curve to me to create a better life. And it's not just a better life so that your kids can just live off of it and squander it. And, it's changing the mentality. That's what I see in a lot of ways when I'm talking about building generational wealth and passing it on, passing it forward, or leaving it behind. It's something about changing the relationship and the perception of wealth so that it has a new meaning, a new frequency, and hopefully a more everlasting sustenance than just material itself. That's beautiful, because you could have rich families passing down money, you know what I mean, but it doesn't mean that the mentality is forwarding that comes with each generation. It actually could be depreciating. In some cases, it in this day and age that we are more or less wrapping up. It has been a more depreciated appreciation over time and over each generation. But it's something about like regenerating a more solid and even transcendent mentality that is not just sustainable from here to the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, but it may sustain a legacy lifetimes ahead, because of it's like an internal restructuring of identity and self-awareness and even surrounding awareness that can actually evolve what one, like say an emperor, created for his legacy. It can actually evolve it beyond that. Like you could have someone, you could groom your legacy in such a way that the mentality is so evolved beyond you that it's not even just about conserving the family fortune, whatever that may be, or even growing it a little bit, but it's like advancing it beyond even the wildest imagination of the patriarch itself, like literally making it an everlasting reality, because it's not just money that's being passed down. It's an appreciation for creation itself, and also with that emperor energy, it's like a certain sense of responsibility to that creation and of one's own creativity that is so much more influential and impressionable and impactful futuristically, that it becomes like either a newly generated way of life and of being, or maybe a regenerated way, perhaps, to what was more pure before it became distorted in the first place. So it's like somebody breaks through the distortion, and maybe you are that one that has broken through the distortion of faulty conditioning and again trauma and negative messaging, to get to a place where what you have, the foundation that you have affirmed, is stable enough to secure you now, and also to give your legacy a great launching pad for them to, as it says in the scriptures, do greater things than even you can do, you know, of which right now you may not even really have the perception for because of the limitation of that scope, you know what I mean, as it is. And it doesn't even matter if you do or not, because what matters is that you did your part to break through the limitations that were captivating for you and yours and your generation, and now the next can come in and keep it going with even less resistance to deal with. It's like they won't even have half the issues to wrestle with that we have. So the advancement begins to accelerate that much more, is what I'm trying to get out ultimately, until it completely, I would say, like, it becomes the surviving, like, species of spirituality, in a sense. And I don't mean spiritual in a religious sense, but like the way of life. You know, it becomes like the surviving life form, so to speak, because it's more self-sustainable than the energies that I'm saying, like, are being closed out now, that are exclusively driven by material influence and gain. You know, it's like, maybe that is okay, from the Knight of Wands to the Knight to the Emperor, and the Temperance in the middle. Okay, so this is okay. I got it now. Wow. So this is about forwarding. Ooh, I just heard forwarding the master race. That's not color, that's not culture, creed, none of that. It's about this advanced, ascended and transcended expression of humanity. The master human race. Oh my God, that's interesting. Which means that as it advances, Darwinism here, the lesser species, so to speak, will ultimately become extinct. Wow. Nine of Pentacles. This is self-sustainability, independence, security. Not just material affluence. This is amazing. The nine of Pentacles doesn't just represent material affluence. It implies that there's a spiritual affluence that predates the material manifestation. And this is, now this being the only, well, there's a woman projected in the Ten of Pentacles, but it's the womb. This is the womb of like a nuanced reproduction. Like, this is the mother of that energy. Like the opposite of dependency, of trauma, of even codependency, in a sense, like insecurity. A lot of the densities that prevent us from operating in sovereignty. This is like baby sovereignty here in a sense. Because she kind of gives, I think we do call this like the pre-empress vibes in a sense, the Nine of Pentacles. And that is like this is like the new, or like I said, it could even be the original womb that is now being like resurged in production, you know, because I can't say that it's altogether new. It had to come from somewhere, but let's say it's been out of production for a long time, where like the production has been like everything else in our society, in our world, like what do we call it when over processed? Yeah, like processed food, so to speak, like tainted with a whole bunch of impurities and things that just that are not really good for you. This is deep. I hope he that have an ear, let him hear, because this is beyond me of what I'm actually putting down. But there's something about like the regeneration of the original woman, masculine and feminine, of course, even implied in the Ten of Pentacles. We need both energies to produce and to reproduce. But it's something about the purification of the womb from which that gets to happen, and perhaps even the seed, you know, as in the very beginning, considering going from, again, that Knight of Wands, who's a bit reckless, a little bit wild at times, to the Emperor, who's far more intentional, committed, stable, sound. You know, both energies are being revitalized for the reproduction of the master human race. And how that gets to look may not be like physical. It may not be actually giving birth to babies. It may not be. It may not even be a desire, but it could be in whatever it is that you create, you know. As I was looking at the Seven of Pentacles, I was like considering, what does that really mean when someone is looking so intensely at what they're yielding? Because it doesn't have to be another human. It could just be the influence and the impact that you make on your actual children that are already here, obviously. It could even be the influence that you make with your creative abilities, your gifts, your talents, your businesses, where you invest your money, your time, your energy. Like the other day I was saying about being super intentional about your sewing. Now, yeah, that's what this is at the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, thank you, Spirit, because this is what the intention is. Oh, we got the Moon card under. I didn't even mean to see that. But the Moon card is under there. Wow. Oh my God. It's the Nine of Cups. And that Moon card is I feel like there's a certain obscurity about it right now, even as like I'm trying to speak on it, but I don't even think, again, as I was saying before, something about stretching into your position. Like, I don't even know if I have the verbiage to really articulate this as clearly as I would like to. From the beginning, I was feeling like I was missing something grand, you know, but that could be the part of it that we all get to experience and explore. Yeah. And the Moon card is like giving that, again, that sense of mystery and mystique, that even, you know, sometimes can give way to our fears about the unknown. But I think the point of this all, as I was clear to really zero in on the pleasure of the process, is highlighting what great potential truly does await, you know, or lie within it. Yeah. Because now we got the Nine of Cups, which, I mean, I rarely get the Nine of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles back to back next to each other. Like, that's a powerful, that, as I was saying before, masculine. I keep pointing to the woman as the masculine, feminine, masculine, masculine, feminine alike. There is this regeneration of pure, what is that? A regeneration of, oh, supreme self-esteem is what I often see these cards as, which I talked about when I talked about the Emperor in the beginning. And the process of that, yeah, oh my gosh, so good. And the process of that, remember I was saying, like, you become stable. You go from being a little bit like, I don't know, to like, yes, sure of myself, sure of why I'm here, sure of what I do best, sure of what I can stretch myself into or challenge myself into. That, again, that Aries ambition, where there really is no insurmountable challenge that you can't, you know, put your mind to and your energy toward, the best of it anyway. And here is more or less like the ideal outcome. Again, is this like supreme sense of self-esteem throughout that process, not just in what you have, what you've acquired, what you've created even, but in the essence of who you are. And imagine these two energies reproducing, whether this be people reproducing legacy or business partners, friends, family members, two like minds, as the scripture says, where two or three are gathered, I'm in the midst of it. So this is like inhabiting, like cultivating a space for the highest frequency to transmit whatever it is. First, of course, starting within yourself, but then that being an attractive force for others that can not only match your charge, but maybe even supercharge you, and vice versa, you know? And again, what does that do but continue to advance the master race? Maybe a race of ascended mastery. Oh my God, that's what it is, with the Temperance card in the midst. It's and it's not just because, if you think about it, like back in the day, like, say, I keep making Bible references today, and that's not uncommon, but I've done it so much that it definitely is considerable to observe. And so here it is, like back in biblical times, you might have had one or two so-called chosen ones that led the charge for their family, or were anointed and appointed in a very special way to do something divine, more or less, or special. But it's something here when I'm talking about like advancing a race, so that it's not just like one or two. Yeah, one or two may have kind of fortified the foundation, but it's now about like almost being a breeding source. Yeah, like some type of, like I was talking about manufacturing and business and production. It's like being a breeding source, one way or another, whether it be physically, intellectually, energetically, whatever, for this advanced, again, expression of humanity, so that it's not just one in many, or a few chosen, or a few lights in darkness. Again, it's advancing a population that ultimately would overcome the lesser vibration. That's how I see it. Until either that vibration is compelled to also advance and enhance, ascend and transcend, or it is ultimately extinguished. Or extinguished isn't the word that I use, extinct, but I guess it pretty much means the same thing. Wow, yeah, look at this, 5 of Cups. Those that can't get with it get lost, and wow, and that's the Justice. What is this? Wow. Get into it though. Wow. It's because, see, in the beginning we started with the Temperance, which between the Temperance and the Justice, it's like spiritual justice now being expressed in the physical realm. It's like what's already been decreed and declared from a higher dimension is now materializing in this lower one. And the balance is happening because I don't have time to go into this, I don't think, but the people have, those so-called chosen, I say so-called not to be, disrespectful, but everybody might not subscribe to that title for themselves or for anyone else. So sometimes I don't even know if I do, to be honest. But the idea of there being a few of many that have been charged with a certain purpose or mission, so to speak, to influence the this I do believe in, but the title and the label of it all is sometimes problematic for me. But those that have accepted the challenge and the charge to contribute to ascending the vibration of creation in their own embodiment, in their own right, by their own means, methods, and standards, shoot, I forgot where I was going with that because I was making too many concessions. But I think what I was trying to say is that I don't remember. Oh, yes, I do. So those that have accepted that charge have literally become the charge by which this realm is being supercharged to be conducive for this evolution of sorts. If there was nobody down here doing it, it would all stay sedentary or at some lower frequency that wouldn't be inhabitable by any supreme source holistically, you know what I mean, in the way that we're experiencing now and witnessing now. So again, there's this dimensional shift that's happening from really inside out, but for ideal purposes, from above to below and from below to above, because we have magnetized it into this realm by our transcendence and ascendance. But it's coming through to uplift, to accelerate that transcendence that much more, in ways that couldn't be done on our own, if that makes sense. And in that processing, which is karmically balanced, is universally balanced, as above, so below, those that, are not so inspired to follow suit, on their own path, may be the ones that are depicted here in this 5 of Cups, like literally feeling left behind or left out or less than, because the dominant frequency that will ultimately prevail, and maybe not so slowly as Darwinism has previously projected, because we're talking about the acceleration of this reproduction in a supernatural sense. Again, it's like converging, that temperance card is like converging the spirit with the natural, and it won't happen in the timing that we're used to, or that we're humanly conditioned to consider, is possible. So with that being said, it puts a great deal of pressure, maybe influence is the better word, on those that have been resistant to that charge, where there's a greater pull on transformation to kind of evolve and catch up with the times as they are accelerating, if you haven't been working in that direction up until this point. So I think it's not a matter of people being left behind and left out, extinguished, extinct, because the divine is so diabolical, to want to do that. But it's just that what is desirable to be the prevailing life form, that is sustainable in this earth, is so much more urgent now, that if you can't get with it, it's just inevitable that you will get lost, because the energy that you insist to maintain won't be sustainable on the frequency that the entire earth is ascending to. And it's for the sake of survival and preservation, but also for the sake of evolving in prosperity. So take that as you will. Like I said, I don't even know if I did that full justice, but I'm gonna leave it right there. And it was just 2:11 on the clock as I looked up. So, all right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening and watching. Wow. All I will say is that it count yourself privileged. Here's the pleasure of it all. As I said in the beginning, if you can resonate with being a part of, or even having the potential of evolving into the master human race, not for the sake of, exclusivity or punching down or judging anyone else, but really having a heart and a mind to advance life experience as you know it, and in the influence that you see fit to make for future generations, then that is the pleasure, that is the honor, and that is the privilege. And no matter what path it guides you on, I hope that you can maintain that frequency for yourself, to allow it to be a most enjoyable journey. Yeah. You won't regret it. I don't think you will regret it if you're already not enjoying yourself at this point. All right. Well, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.